What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! OCG TCG video. Today, guys, we are finally going to be going over the new Shark or Nash support that is set to release in Duelist of the Abyss. We got Mako Tsunami, we got Aoizaizen, aka Blue Maiden, we got their support announced already, and although we did get one announcement of one card for Nash's cards, it wasn't enough, but now we have finally gotten the big batch of Nash's new support for his deck, and I'm very excited to be going over it with you guys. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and let's jump right into it. So as per usual with these card game videos, I'll go over the monsters first, then the extra deck monsters, and then end it off with the spells and traps. And the first card that we're going to be going over is Abyss Shark, a level 5 water fish effect monster with 1200 attack and 700 defense. Its effect is you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is if all monsters you control are water monsters, minimum 1, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except water monsters. Also, the next battle damage your opponent takes this turn from a battle involving your number monster and another monster is doubled. Also, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, add one level 3, 4, or 5 fish monster from your deck to your hand except Abyss Shark. Its second effect is if this card is used for the Exceed summon of a number monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or level 4 monster. Okay, there's actually quite a bit with this card, especially in that first effect. So, the first effect is essentially saying it's going to allow you to be able to deal double damage involving a battle involving your number monsters. And essentially, this card is your searcher as well, as it can search level 3, level 4, level 5 fish monsters, which is always nice to have. And also, it special summons itself from your hand, which is really good, especially since this is a level 5 monster. If it did not have a special summon effect, I would have been a little bit more concerned about it, because the double damage is alright, it's not really that big of a deal, but allowing this card to be able to special summon itself and essentially become your searcher for any one of those fish type monsters, 3, 4, or 5, whatever you decide to do, is really nice. And this card can change its level to 3 or 4 or be treated as that level. That way you can go into any rank 3 or rank 4 plays as long as it's a number monster. So the flexibility with this card is really nice. I actually think this is actually a pretty strong card for what it can do. It's your searcher, and it can change its levels up to fit the certain play that you're trying to do. So overall, I think this is actually a pretty solid card for the new Shark support. But with that being said, this is going to lead us into the next monster, which is Crystal Shark, a level 5 water fish effect monster with 1100 attack and 800 defense. Its effect is you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. First effect is if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target one water monster on the field. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Exceed monsters. Also, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and if you do, that target's current attack becomes half. Second effect is if this card is used for the Exceed summon of a number monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or 4 monster. Okay, so it's essentially the second effect of Abyss Shark also on this card's second effect. So you can use this card and the Abyss Shark to go into a rank 3 or rank 4 number Exceed monster. So that's actually pretty cool. But for the first effect, it's honestly not that bad. You know, you're able to special summon this card pretty easily by just targeting a water monster on either player's field. So, for example, you can Gamma Seal your opponents to try to get one of their big threats out of the way, and then you can have that Gamma Seal's attack, and then you can easily special summon this card to go into your Exceed plays. The only thing I will say with this card that kind of sucks is how it locks you into Exceed monsters, because that means you can't do any link plays, that means you can't do any fusion or synchro plays, which honestly I don't think in this type of deck you're going to be trying to worry about, you know, synchro or fusion plays. But the fact that it's going to lock you out of link monsters kind of does suck, but honestly, this could be played around. You just set up your link plays first, then special summon this card, and that really just solves the problem, if I'm going to be completely honest. So Overall, this is not a bad card at all. It allows you to be able to get a free special summon and cut one of your opponent's monsters' attacks in half, potentially if you do the whole Gamma Seal thing, or if your opponent doesn't have any water monsters on your field. It's not the end of the world. Just use one of your monsters, cut its attack in half, because more than likely you're going to use it for the Xyz play anyway. So that's going to be completely fine no matter which way you do it. So overall, and it also has the thing with the level 3 and level 4 situation. So overall, I don't think this card is that bad at all, in my opinion. Easy to special summon, and you can work for any number of Xyz play you want for anything 3, 4, or 5. So overall, I think this is a pretty nice effect monster. But that's going to be it for the effect monsters, and let's go into the extra deck monster, which, fun fact, was actually not introduced in this new batch of cards that I'm going over in this video, but it was actually announced a little earlier to the release of these new cards. But since I never did a video on it, I decided, you know what, let's go over the card. Why the hell not? So the new card for Nash's arsenal is Nash Knight, or Nafil Asylum Heth Knight. I hope I said that correctly. And before even going into the effect, love the name of this card. They're essentially doing the same thing that they did with number 101 Silent Honor Arc, or how it was written in the OCG version as Shark Knight, and in the Silent Honor Arc is the full version of that. They essentially did the same thing with this card, but they did the play of Nash's name, which is the form that Shark took when he became a Barian, as that's what his name was as Nash. So that's actually pretty cool what they're doing. It's a rank 5 Water Aqua Xyz effect monster with 1700 attack and 2700 defense, with a materials of 2 level 5 monsters. Its effect is you can only use this card's name's second effect each once per turn. First effect is cannot be destroyed by battle if a number monster is on the field. Second effect, during the main phase quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, take 1 number Xyz monster that has a number between 101 and 107 in its name from your extra deck, and attach it to this card as material. Then you can attach 1 other face-up monster on the field to this card as material. So first effect gives protection. Always nice to have. You do have to have a number monster on your field, but since the second effect essentially is wanting you to play extra deck monsters that are number monsters between 101 and 107, more than likely there is a good chance that you're going to have a number on your field. That way this card can have some protection. So pretty cool there. Second effect is also really nice, to be able to essentially steal one of your opponent's monsters or one of your monsters and essentially give it an Xyz material. So that's cool. The only issue that I have with this card is that you're required to have a number monster between 101 and 107, or 101 through 107, excuse me. And that's alright, but there's 2 problems with that. For starters, 101 through 107, they're not the best number monsters out there. There are far better number monsters that you'd be playing over these monsters. But the second reason is because you have to play one of these monsters and this card, you essentially waste 2 of your 15 extra deck zones, or your extra deck. So that is a concern in its own regard. So is it worth using this card's effect once to steal an opponent's monster? Because I don't see the point of doing more than just 1 number monster. It makes no sense whatsoever, or specifically 101 and 107 to activate this card's effect. I don't see you playing more than 1. I feel like it's stupid to do that because you're tight in extra deck spots already, and to essentially have to use one of your extra deck slots for a card that's not going to really be that useful just to activate this card's effect. I don't know. I mean, it's still a pretty nice effect regardless, but I don't know. Like, that is kind of concerning because I feel like there's a good chance it might not be worth it, because I feel like you would rather play 2 more powerful monsters to essentially then use 1 monster that needs another monster in the extra deck to be able to use this effect. So overall, cool card. Is it the best card for this new support? No, I kind of wish it didn't require you to have numbers 101 through 107 to be able to activate this effect. I wish it could have been any number monster, but you can't always get what you wish for. But overall, I still think it's a pretty cool card, but might not be the most useful card. But who really knows? Maybe if you do have the extra deck spot, then go ahead and actually do this. But I don't know if it's worth it or not. I feel like this is a card I would have to test out a little bit more just to make sure. But like I said, really cool card, and I love the fact what they're doing with the name of this card. But that's going to be it for the extra deck monsters, and let's jump into the spells and traps. So for the spells and traps, the first card that we're going to be going over is Barion's Chaos Draw. A normal spell card with the effect of, to activate this card, you must draw it from your normal draw in your draw phase, reveal it, and keep it revealed into the main phase 1. Oh god, we're doing the 7th one again. Oh shoot, I already don't like this card. For people that don't know, the 7th one has the exact same restriction, and that's why people barely play it, because we don't like gimmick cards. They break too easily, especially with this, because if you draw this during your initial hand, this card is essentially useless. You can't use it unless you're somehow able to put it back in your deck, and then you don't draw it off of like a draw spell or an effect that lets you draw a card. So already don't like the fact that this is going to be a gimmick card, but let's just read the effects and see what it's all about. During your main phase 1, the same turn, you can activate one of these effects. Send 1 rank up magic, the 7th one, or 7 Emperor's normal spell from your deck to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect when this card is activated. Okay, so you can, essentially this card becomes one of these cards, so that way you can gain your advantage either from the 7th one to be able to go into a Chaos Exceeds number monster, from 101 through 107, or you can use one of the 7 Emperor's normal spells and be able to use their effects. So that's actually a pretty good effect. And then the other one is special summon up to 2 monsters from your deck, but their effects are negated. And if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, Exceeds summon 1 number Exceeds monster using all summoned monsters. So essentially, this is a free Exceeds summon of a monster. You get to summon 2 monsters from your deck and go into a number Exceeds play. That's another really good effect. I think this card is actually pretty solid, and I could see you playing this card at 1 because of the fact that this card has the gimmick. If it didn't have the gimmick, easy 3-up. This card is just insane for what it can do, but because you have that gimmick of you having to draw during your draw phase, it just makes it so much worse. It's not unplayable. That's why I say you play 1 copy of it, because you don't take the risk of drawing it in your starting hand, but because of the fact that that can essentially happen, I don't know, like this card had so much potential, but because you had to throw a gimmick on it, it's a lot worse than what it could be. But I still think it's worth playing in my opinion, but I wish they didn't make it into a gimmick. Yeah, I know they're trying to reference, what the 7 Barian Emperors would do with their Barian Chaos draws to get the 7th one to their hand and destroy their opponents with their Chaos Exceeds over 100 numbers, but I don't know, just translating that into today's card game is just not the best option in my opinion, but at least it's a cool reference in my opinion, but in my opinion, you should just only play 1 copy of this card at a maximum. I just do not think it's worth playing more in my opinion, but let's go into the next card and hopefully it's not a gimmick. Please don't be a gimmick. So the next card that we're going to be going over is 7th Ascension, or Ascension of the 7 Emperors. A normal spell card with the effect of you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. First effect, take 1 rank up magic, the 7th one 7 Emperors spell and trap other than Ascension of the 7 Emperors, 1 Barian spell or trap, or 1 rank up magic quick play spell card from your deck, and either add it to your hand or place it on the top of your deck. Second effect is your opponent controls a monster, special summon it from the extra deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard and send 1 rank up magic spell from your hand to the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect when this card is activated. Holy crap, I need to talk about the second effect first. That effect just saved Barian Chaos Draw in the 7th one. Holy hell, that just saved it, because literally, I just complained about the last card where if you draw that card in your hand, you essentially have no use for it. But because of this card, you can essentially dump this card from your hand and be able to activate it without having to draw it from the top of your deck. Holy crap, I love this card now. I really do love this card, and I think that makes the Barian Chaos Draw a little bit better, in my opinion, because if you don't have this card, you still have to have that restriction, but if you're able to get access to this card and you somehow end up drawing Burying Chaos Draw or the 7th one, you can essentially fix it with this card, and I absolutely love it. And the first effect is not that bad at all, to essentially be able to add one of these cards to either the top of your deck, which can work with Burying Chaos Draw or the 7th one, or you can essentially add it to your hand, more than likely for, the 7 Emperor's Spell and Traps. So overall, love this card. This is actually a very solid card. It gets rid of the brick from the 7th one and the Chaos Draw, and it allows you to be able to search for any one of these cards and either add it to your top of your deck or add it to your hand. So overall, love this card. You should play 3 of this card in your Nash deck, in my opinion. This is actually a really solid card. And with that said, that's going to lead us into the final card for this video, which is Eternal 7th or Eternity of the 7 Emperors, a continuous trap card with the effect of you can only use the first effect of this card's name once per turn. You can target one Xyz monster you control that is a number monster with a number between 101 and 107 in its name, or has such a monster as material, then activate one of these effects. Literally, that second effect, I feel like they added that way Nash Knight can also get the benefit of this card as well, because obviously it doesn't have a number between 101 and 107, but its effect allows it to essentially have one of those monsters attached to it. So pretty cheeky of what they did there, Konami. I see what you're trying to do there, but from the 2 choices you can choose from, the first one is negate the effects of face-up monsters your opponent controls with equal or lower attack until the end of this turn, or detach all materials from that monster, then you can special summon one number Xyz monster from your graveyard. That second effect is definitely catered towards Nash Knight, because that essentially allows you to be able to activate its first effect, because since you can detach all the materials and then summon the monster you attached to Nash Knight, you are now able to have protection from battle, and then you can use another card that can maybe help with spells and traps. So you're already being able to get protection because of Nash Knight's effect combined with this, but I feel like that one's a little bit more situational, in my opinion, more catered towards Nash Knight, but the first option is not that bad either. You get to negate the effects of face-up monsters that have equal or lower attack to the monster that you targeted. So essentially, if you have one of your number monsters and let's just say you're able to get them to 2,500 attack, or this is a better example, 3,000 attack. Let's say you get one of these numbers to 3,000 attack. Then essentially any monster that has 3,000 or lower attack has their effects negated, which is incredible. That's actually a really good effect. Any card that allows you to be able to negate cards' effects is really nice. I really do think this is actually a pretty solid card, in my opinion. And the second part of this effect, the other option, is not that bad, but it's more catered towards Nash Knight. But just for the first one, I actually think it's pretty solid, in my opinion. But yeah, with that being said, general thoughts on the new support. I actually think this is actually some really nice support for the Nash deck. I actually think these are cards that I could see being played in these decks, especially 7th Ascension. That card is without a doubt the MVP for these new support, or at least my favorite card from this set, because it finally fixes a problem that the 7th one has needed to have fixed for years, because of the fact that it had that gimmick of having to draw it during your draw phase. This card essentially fixes that. So if you draw that during your starting hand, guess what? You activate this card, you send that card to the graveyard, and boom, you can activate the 7th one freely. So the fact that we finally got a card to fix that situation, I absolutely love it, and essentially fixing Burying Chaos Draw as well, because it has that same weird gimmick as well. And the trap of this set as well, Eternal 7th, is actually really cool as well, and I do like it. The Xyz monster was cool, though I kind of hope that there is room in the extra deck spot, because if there isn't, not really worth to play the card, but if you can, then I feel like there's a worth to be able to play this card, just to be able to steal one of your opponent's monsters and attach it to this card. It's always nice to be able to do that. And then you have 2 level 5 monsters that can essentially special summon themselves and be treated as level 3, 4, or 5 monsters to go in those type of Xyz plays. So overall, I think this support is really nice, but this is not it for the Nash support, because we still have the boss monster for this support that still has not gotten announced yet, and it's not done for the set either. either as well, because we have the new Morensis Link monster that we got to go over as well, which I'll be waiting to do those cards when I do my video going over the set as a whole. So for anyone that's expecting me to do those cards anytime soon, don't plan on seeing it. Plan on seeing that when I do my actual full thoughts on the set as a whole. So hope you guys are looking forward to that as well. But guys, that's going to be it for this OCG TCG support. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the new support. Did you think it was good support? Did you think it was okay support? Or did you not think the support was that good at all? Let me know your guys' thoughts on your favorite card from this new support and your thoughts on the new Xyz monster that got announced before this whole batch of cards. And do you guys think it's worth playing in the deck, or do you think that there's a card that would probably suit the deck better than this card? I feel like now looking through the cards, I think it's a little bit more worth it, because some of these cards do rely on you having 101 through 107. So since you're going to be having that in your extra deck anyway, it's essentially, I feel like, worth it in my opinion to play this. But that's just my thoughts now looking at the full support, but I would still love to know your guys' thoughts on that as well. But guys, that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.